Hello, and welcome to another one of my videos. Today I wanted to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and that is journaling. In this video, I'm going to be diving into how I got into journaling, how you can get into journaling, the different kinds that you may be interested in because I know it can be overwhelming, and just my overall experience and advice that I would give to somebody who is maybe just getting into journaling or is maybe already familiar with it but just wants some more insight on it. That's what today's video is going to be about. So to begin, let's say that you are brand new. You only ever see little videos or Pinterest posts looking all aesthetic of journaling, and that is not always the case, but yes, journaling is as fun as it can look to be. It is. I have been journaling since 2017, so that would be 8 years. And the biggest thing that makes people not want to do journaling is simply because they don't know what to write about. And I'm happy to tell you that you could write about literally anything, it doesn't matter. I'll give you an example and a way that you can practice getting into the flow of just writing down your thoughts. For one, imagine that you're talking to a friend. You're sharing things that you want to get off your mind, stories that are either funny or make you still feel a sense of anger or frustration. Write it down. And if you feel frozen at the page and you really don't know how to get started, give yourself 3 sentences to write. So here's an example. Today is June 20th, 2025, and the weather outside is nice, period. I spent today running some errands, and I'm currently watching YouTube. I've got a busy day tomorrow, so I'm off to bed. Good night. Now, that was 3 sentences, and personally, I write a lot more than 3 sentences because I've been journaling for such a long time, and because I just like to write and talk to my journal. Basically, the things that you want to say to a person, to a friend, you can write down all of those thoughts as if you are talking to them. Just in this case, you're talking in private. Editing my hair, I also wanted to mention something that I completely forgot, and it's that you do not have to go about journaling by writing in a notebook. The whole point of journaling is getting your thoughts out, whether that be by putting them on a piece of paper or speaking them out loud, which is a big reason why a lot of people create YouTube videos, including myself. So if the idea of writing alone is somewhat of a bother, then I also suggest making private videos for yourself. Not everybody feels comfortable to talk about things on the internet, and if that's the case for you, then I actually suggest you make private videos and upload them onto a YouTube channel privately, just for you to see. It can even be on TikTok, and maybe this idea to you defeats the purpose of journaling, but ultimately I can promise you that whether you're talking to yourself in silence and writing your thoughts down on a page, or you're talking them out loud, you will still get similar, if not the same, benefits of doing either one of those options. Just an idea, but we'll get back to the original video. There are many benefits to journaling. One in particular is that it really does help you better understand your thinking process, your mentality, your general mood, your thoughts. And this is where I want to give some insight into how I personally got started journaling. Back in the day, I was doing a competitive sport, and any competitive athlete knows that it is demanding, there is pressure, whether that be from your teammates, your peers, your coach, yourself. It can be hard, and if you don't have anybody around you that you can really talk to that relates to that circumstance or that environment where, and it doesn't have to be just a sport, it can be for a class, for university, for college, it can be for other hobbies, theater, acting, a job, it can literally be for anything. But I find that if you struggle to have people around you that you feel can relate and really understand what it is you want to get off your chest, your mind, or express, that is where journaling comes into play. I know right now it's very popular to show the inside of your journals online and maybe show what you're writing about, but for me personally, that is something I have never liked doing. There was a time where I was making some journaling content myself, but I would usually write in a really messy cursive so that other people couldn't read it, or even just avoid showing what I wrote at all, because the things that you write are not meant to be perceived by anybody but yourself. Journaling is meant to be a safe place. It is not meant to be a place where you need to second guess or second think what it is you're writing about and wonder, what will they think if they see that? What will somebody think to themselves if they read that? It's not their business. It is nobody's business but your own. And just because you don't want to share your journal or what you're writing with other people does not mean that you are writing bad things or doing bad things. I'll admit that almost anybody could probably read my journal and would think nothing of it, but there's something about having that privacy that I think is so rare nowadays, and that reassurance knowing this isn't going anywhere but staying on these pages. I don't know about you, but even sometimes when I'm writing in my phone, like in the Notes app, there's times where I wonder to myself, how secure is this really? Like, look at the recent CapCut update with their terms and conditions. Thank goodness I rarely used that app to begin with. And if you're looking for an alternative, I do suggest InShot. It's free, it's on your phone. Besides the point, you just never know if your information is safe anymore when it comes to your phone and data. This really sounds like I'm rolling into a sponsorship. I promise you I'm not. But that's what makes journaling so much more special. You put it in here, you close the cover, and you know that it's staying in here. There's also something about just disconnecting from your phone, from your screen, and going back to the basics of grabbing a pen or a pencil and writing. Feeling your hand move across the pages, feeling how stable you are when it comes to your handwriting. And these things improve more than just your handwriting or your mood, especially if you integrate it into your everyday life. I promise you, it really does make a difference. Journaling is also not a race. Again, talking about the influences that social media has had on journaling, I feel like there's this subtle pressure to fill up the journal and make that video that I filled up the journal. I've been there, I've done that, I know. And it feels good to fill up a journal, it does. But I think that some people may feel discouraged if they're not filling their journal up quick enough, or if certain pages aren't turning out aesthetically pleasing or looking like that one person's page on TikTok. And that's when the many different kinds of journaling comes in. There is no right or wrong way. And luckily, if you're like me and you want to do it all, you can. And you don't need separate journals to do it. But if you want to, you can. So these are the main journals that I'm currently using. So let's get into them. First up, we have what would be considered scrapbooking or potentially junk journaling. They're kind of the same dealio. This journal I made this out of a cereal box. I sewed it, and it's my first time ever making a journal. I actually made this back in 2021. It's 2025, and only now am I almost just finishing it. There are not many pages inside, but that is my point, in that you do not have to go quickly. You do not have to go in any order. The book is just there for when you feel like writing in it. Yes, I've been journaling for 8 years, but I have not journaled every single day for 8 years. I've just journaled consistently. In this journal in particular, some of my spreads may look like this, where I incorporate more stickers and thicker pieces of stationery into it. You know, maybe I want to make them more decorative while still include writing. Here's one I did after watching the film Pride and Prejudice. I watched it recently for the first time, the 2005 remake. Loved it, and I wrote here, which is almost falling, "You have bewitched me, body and soul." But I just wanted to show you just a few of my spreads to give you an idea of what this kind of a journaling style can look like, or journaling method. As long as you can get your thoughts down, it really doesn't matter how you go about it. But there's ways to enhance your time doing it, whether that's including stickers or washi tape, scrapbook. Some of my favorite things to include is lace. I love lace. Here's another example of some lace. I also love these wax seals, and each spread is different. Like, there's some while I'm flipping through my journal right now where I'm like, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but when I finish it, I can't help but feel like loving it. because that is still a version of me, and that is what I put my creative energy into that day, in that moment, and I can look back on that. Now, if you want to be neater, cleaner, but you still want to do a similar kind of journaling style, then there is also this aesthetic, which, let's just say, I was very much into my anime Genshin era here. Like, we literally have Zhongli, hi. But this, as you can see, is very neat. At least to me, this is as neat as it's gonna get for me. And this is really fun too. Like, there's just so many variations that you can do. It just depends what you wanna do. Because you can do anything and you can switch it up at any point. It's your journal. Social media does not have to see it unless you wanted to. And that's how it goes. Everybody who does journaling usually has their favorites and their least favorite spreads, ones that they feel more proud of, more inclined to liking. It just all depends on your preferences. But like in this case, this is an Archer and Olive book that I've had for, I want to say 5 years now, and I'm like a little more than halfway through it. I have not journaled in this in months, maybe even close to a year, but more like months. And that's just because I haven't felt like doing a very precise, clean looking spread. And when I want to, this is the book that I choose to do it in. Next up is a planner. This is by Amanda Rach Lee. This is her doodle planner. And obviously a planner does differ from a journal, but in some cases you can write down like your thoughts and little summaries about the day in them if they have the space for that. And there are some blank pages in this planner where I'm able to do that, but it really depends on your needs and what you're looking for. So if you want to help be more organized for your day-to-day life, I suggest having a planner, because that way you can see the date, you can see the week ahead, a month overview, and it's a lot more organized rather than just, you know, writing little to-do list in your journal where you write, where you do washi tape. But again, you can also do that, and I've done that at one point before too. It all just depends on what you feel like doing, what you have the budget for, and what you have the patience for too. Because while nice spreads can be really beautiful, they can be very time consuming. And sometimes when you're in the thick of it, when you're busy, all you want to do is just write down your thoughts and carry on with your day, which is why I use this the most. This book is just filled with writing. I've journaled in all of this, and this is what I have left. I've been journaling in this since 2023, and this book is not to look aesthetic. It is not to do anything but simply put down a date and write my thoughts down. If you're a beginner, I do suggest having a planner and then a little notebook where you can write down whatever it is you want in it. But it's not a need for me, it was just a want, and over time I was able to accumulate more notebooks. I was able to tell people, hey, I love journaling. If you want, get me a notebook for my birthday or as a gift. So for me, it's easier to have individual books for whatever kind of style I want to go about. But at the end of the day, all you need is one notebook and one pen, and you're good to go. Now, I briefly touched on it earlier, but now that we're at the end of this discussion, I wanted to talk a little bit more about how I got into journaling. And it started when I was a competitive athlete. I was having a difficult time. I was having a difficult experience with my coach at the time. I felt like I couldn't really talk to people around me about it. And even if I did, there was a certain extent in which I would go into detail or length that I would talk about it for. And that's where I found journaling to be my best friend, because I could write all I wanted. I could let go of these thoughts and put them down somewhere and keep them somewhere else other than up here. And it was in 2017, I was about 12 years old, that my mom bought me a journal, just a lined journal, and she also got me a planner, and it was from the brand Bando, which I still love. Journaling at the time, I didn't even realize really helped my mental health. I was not doing well during the time in which I was in my competitive sport, and I remember so vividly journaling before my training sessions and just feeling this sense of safety, like okay, if I write in it now before I go, even though I'm nervous or I'm scared for what the outcome of this practice may be, I can come back here guaranteed and tell you how it went, regardless, bad, good, ugly, great. And that is how I got so comfortable with journaling and doing it regularly. It was a way for me to escape my reality at times and to feel this sense of safety and comfort. And I'm so glad that I started journaling when I did, because it was so helpful then. It was so helpful throughout the coming years, and I still find it to be one of the best things that I've incorporated into my everyday routine. I'm not one to usually go back and read my journaling spreads, but occasionally I do, and I think to myself, I was okay. I made it out. I was okay. There's so many situations where I'm sure we feel like, oh, I don't know what it's gonna look like on the other side, whether it's as simple as, I've got this presentation at school, I'm so nervous, how am I gonna do? Or I've got a competition, or anything. And it's just that reassurance to know that you can come back to the same spot that you were before it happens. And you can see sometimes how you were overthinking, you ended up doing great, or it actually went bad, but here I am reflecting on it. One situation that I can think of is a few months ago had my first in-person callback audition ever, and I was so nervous for it going into it, but I was still very confident in myself. I went there, it didn't go as I'd hoped it went. I was able to come back home, go to my journal, my little safety net, and just reflect on it and get those feelings out, because if you don't get them out, you can talk to other people about it. But this is something that I also wanted to get at: gossip. It is so easy to splurge and spill out all of these thoughts, words, and feelings to and onto other people, whether you mean to intentionally or not. And sometimes that can get you into complicated situations where you'd wish maybe you'd never told the person the thing that you did, or you regret saying what you did or expressing it the way that you did. And journaling is that way to just give yourself a moment before you really let it out or share it with other people. And personally, growing up, I've dealt with a lot of weird relationships with people, and I feel like had I not been journaling along the way, that I would be a very different person. I do believe that privacy is important. I do believe that oversharing can be problematic. And I feel this way because I've had many cases where I am talking and I find myself oversharing, and then I just feel horrible. I don't feel good afterwards. And that's why it is a really great way to get off anything that you want to, whether it's steam, whether it's happiness. That's another thing. It doesn't have to necessarily be, forgot my mic was there. It doesn't necessarily have to be something negative. It can be something very positive, but when you share that with the wrong person, that's when it becomes an issue. This video has already been very long, but if you've watched it up until now, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about journaling, something that I love dearly and that I would love to help other people get into. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them in the comments. But remember, don't overthink it. Don't overthink what you want to write about. There's so many times where I write the most useless stuff, but it doesn't matter. You just write it down and you move on to the next page. Or if you really want, just erase it and start over. But I wouldn't start over. I would just leave it as it is, because that is the authentic thoughts that you are generating, and you can have the space. You can take up the space on the page and in the book to get those thoughts and ideas down. One last note, I'm reading the book The Artist's Way. You may or may not have heard of it, and I wanted to start it because I too have felt many times these creative slumps. And long story short, even the book itself suggests journaling every morning consistently to help with getting your thoughts and ideas moving and preparing yourself for the day ahead of you. Anyways though, maybe I'll talk about that book more in another video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!